Part 1. The neon sign over Highway 50 flickered like a dying heartbeat, buzzing E-A-T in pink and diner in half-lit blue. Inside the silver spur, the air smelled of burnt coffee, fryer grease, and the faint copper tang of trouble that always showed up after midnight. Roxy Callahan sat alone in the last booth, boots propped on the cracked red vinyl leather jacket slung over the backrest like a warning flag. Her black tank top clung to her from the desert heat outside, and the silver chain around her neck carried a tiny skull that caught the light every time she breathed. She was 26, small-boned, and looked like someone you could break if you were stupid enough to try. 3 men at the counter had been watching her for 20 minutes. Road dogs, by the look of them. Cheap ink, cheaper manners. The kind of guys who thought a woman alone was an invitation. Their cuts were fake, some weekend warrior club that copied real patches off the internet and sewed them on crooked. The big one, shaved head, neck thicker than most men's thighs, kept grinning at his buddies every time Roxy reached for her coffee. The waitress, a tired woman named Darla with roots growing out gray, kept shooting Roxy apologetic glances. Roxy just gave the tiniest shake of her head. Not yet. The big one finally slid off his stool. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, voice like gravel in a blender. "You lost? This ain't the beauty pageant." His friends snorted. One of them whistled. Roxy took a slow sip of coffee, set the mug down exactly square on the napkin. "I'm exactly where I want to be." That should have ended it. Most men hear ice in a woman's voice and find something else to do. These three weren't most men. They were drunk on cheap whiskey and the idea that the world owed them respect. Baldy leaned over her table, meaty hands flat on the formica. "See, we got a rule out here. Pretty girls gotta pay a toll." He reached out, thick fingers hooking the neckline of her tank top like he had the right. "Let's see what you're hiding under." The shirt ripped with a sharp, ugly sound. Cotton tore straight down the front, exposing the black lace bra she wore underneath, and the pale line of a scar that ran between her breasts. An old reminder from a night in Tucson no one here needed to know about. For one heartbeat, the diner went dead quiet. Even the jukebox seemed to choke on Waylon Jennings. Roxy didn't scream, didn't cover herself. She looked down at the shredded fabric, then up at the man who'd done it, and smiled like winter coming early. "You shouldn't have touched the shirt," she said softly. Baldy laughed, stepping back to admire his work. "What are you gonna do, honey? Cry to the cook?" The cook, a wiry man named Pete who'd been watching from the pass-through, suddenly found something urgent to do in the walk-in freezer. Darla froze with a pot of coffee in her hand. Roxy slid out of the booth slow, boots hitting the floor without a sound. The ripped tank hung open, but she didn't bother holding it closed. She reached back, grabbed her jacket and shrugged it on, zipping it halfway. The patch on the back caught the neon, a grinning red devil with wings made of fire, and beneath it, the bottom rocker that read, Nevada. The three men saw it at the same time. The smirk slid off Baldy's face like grease down a drain. Roxy tilted her head. "You know whose sister I am?" No one answered. Outside, in the gravel lot, half a dozen Harley engines coughed to life all at once, like they'd been waiting for a signal only she could give. Part 2. The first bike rolled under the diner's floodlights, chrome catching the glow like a blade. Then another, then 4 more. They parked in a loose half-circle, engines idling low and mean. The riders didn't hurry. They killed their bikes one by one and swung off with the kind of calm that comes from knowing the night already belongs to you. The man who walked through the door first stood 6'5" easy, shoulders wide enough to block the neon. His beard was black streaked with silver, braided tight. The president's patch on his chest read Reaper. Below it, the name patch, D. Callahan, Roxy's brother, Dax. He took one look at his sister standing there in the torn shirt, jacket zipped just enough to keep her decent, and something ancient and cold moved behind his eyes. Baldy tried to speak. "Look, man, we didn't know." Reaper didn't look at him yet. He crossed the diner in 4 strides, pulled off his own kuta, and draped it over Roxy's shoulders. It swallowed her whole, the bottom hanging past her thighs. Then he cupped the back of her neck, gentle as handling a bomb, and pressed his forehead to hers for a second. "You okay, Rox?" His voice was quiet, but the room still heard it. "I'm fine," she said. "They're the ones who won't be." Only then did Reaper turn around. The other angels filed in behind him. 6 more, maybe 7. Enough. More than enough. Their patches were old, faded from real miles, real blood. The air changed, grew thick with leather and motor oil, and the promise of pain. Baldy's friends tried to edge toward the door. Two angels simply moved to block it, arms folded, smiling like wolves who'd already eaten. Reaper finally spoke. Which one touched her? Roxy lifted a hand and pointed, one finger steady as a .45 barrel. Him, the big one. He ripped my shirt. Baldy's knees went loose. It was just a joke, man. We were messing around. Reaper took one step forward. You put hands on my sister. That ain't a joke. The diner's clock ticked loud in the silence. Part 3. Darla finally found her voice. Take it outside, please. I got grandkids need this job. Reaper glanced at her, nodded once. Yes, ma'am. He looked at Baldy. You and your boys walk out that door nice and slow. We'll have us a conversation in the lot. There wasn't a man in the room who thought conversation meant talking. They went. Baldy first, hands up like he was already under arrest, his two friends stumbling after. The angels followed, herding them the way cowboys move cattle to slaughter. Roxy stayed inside a moment longer. She unzipped Reaper's kute, folded it with care, and handed it back to him at the door. Underneath, her own jacket still carried the property of no man patch she'd earned the hard way. Dax took the kute, slid it on. You sure you don't want to sit this one out? She laughed once, short and sharp. I'm not some princess, Dax. They touched me. I get my piece. He studied her face, saw the same winter smile she'd given inside, and nodded. Fair enough. Outside, the three men stood in the floodlights, sweating rivers even though the desert night had turned cold. The angels formed a loose ring around them. Crickets chirped somewhere far off, indifferent. Reaper spoke first. Names, they gave them. Baldy was Travis. His friends were Cody and Mikey. Their club was the Iron Reapers. Fake name, fake patches, fake everything. Reaper nodded like he was memorizing. Here's how tonight goes. You touched family. That's a debt. Blood pays blood, but we're feeling generous. You get one chance to walk away breathing. Travis swallowed so hard his throat clicked. Anything, man, name it. Reaper looked at Roxy. She stepped forward, boots crunching on gravel, shirts off. All three of you. They hesitated. One of the angels, young guy they called Preacher, pulled a Bowie knife the length of a forearm and started cleaning his nails with it. The shirts came off real quick after that. Roxy walked a slow circle around them. Travis was heavily muscled but already shaking. Cody had prison ink and prison fear in his eyes. Mikey looked ready to cry. She stopped in front of Travis. You ripped mine, she said. Fair's fair. She reached out, not fast, almost gentle, and hooked her fingers in the collar of his t-shirt. One sharp yank and the fabric tore down the front just like he'd done to her. She kept pulling until the shirt hung in rags off his arms. Then she moved to Cody, same treatment. Mikey tried to back away. Preacher put a hand on his shoulder and held him still, while Roxy shredded his shirt too. When she was done, the three men stood bare-chested under the floodlights, goose flesh rising in the cold. Roxy stepped back. Now you know how it feels. Part 4, Reaper tilted his head. That the whole debt, little sister? She considered. Almost. She walked to Travis again, reached up and slapped him open-handed across the face. The crack echoed off the diner wall like a gunshot. His head rocked, blood flew from his lip. That's for thinking you could touch me, she said. Then she turned to the others and gave each the same slap, hard, clinical, humiliating. When she was finished, she wiped her hand on her jeans like she'd touched something dirty. Reaper gave a small nod of approval. Debts paid, but Travis wasn't smart. Pain and shame made him stupid. He lunged at Roxy while her back was half-turned, fists swinging wild. She'd been waiting for it. She ducked under the punch, came up inside his guard, and drove her knee into his balls so hard his feet left the ground. He dropped, retching into the gravel. The angels didn't move to help her. They didn't need to. Roxy stood over him. I said almost. She looked at Reaper. I want their cuts. Travis tried to crawl away. Two angels hauled him up by the armpits. The fake Iron Reaper's patches came off with the sound of ripping Velcro and thread. Roxy took all three coots, walked to the row of Harleys, and draped them across exhaust pipes still hot from the ride. Leather smoked, shrank, curled black. Travis whimpered. Reaper spoke again, calm as death. You ever wear colors again, real or fake? Within 500 miles of a Hell's Angels charter, we'll hear about it. And next time my sister won't be feeling so generous. He didn't wait for a reply. He just turned his back, an insult bigger than any beating, and walked to his bike. The others followed. Roxy climbed on behind Preacher. Her own bike was still in the shop getting a new tranny. Engines roared awake. They rolled out in formation, taillights bleeding red across the empty highway, leaving 3 half-naked men in the gravel and the smell of burning fake leather behind them. Part 5. 200 miles later, just outside Tonopah, they pulled into a 24-hour truck stop bathed in sickly fluorescent light. The Angels took over the back corner of the lot like they owned it. Roxy slid off Preacher's bike, rolled her shoulders, and headed inside for coffee that didn't taste like battery acid. Reaper caught up with her at the counter. "You didn't have to come running," she said without looking at him. "I was handling it. I know you were." He ordered 2 large coffees, black, and slid one to her. "But your blood. Nobody touches blood." She sipped, winced at the taste anyway. They were nothing, couple of wannabes with liquid courage. "Still put hands on you." His voice dropped. "You wearing Dad's dog tags under that jacket?" She touched the chain at her throat. "Always. Their father, original Hell's Angel, old school Oakland, had died in a wreck outside Bakersfield when she was 12. The tags were the only thing he'd left her. She'd added the little silver skull herself the day she turned 18, and Dax patched her in as family. Not prospect, not old lady, family." Reaper studied her face. "You sure you're okay?" The question wasn't about the ripped shirt anymore. Roxy looked out the plate glass window at the bikes gleaming under the lights. "Some nights I get tired of being the story people tell to scare their prospects." "Don't touch Reaper's sister or she'll gut you herself." He barked a short laugh. "You earned that story, Rox." "Yeah," she said, "I did." They drank in silence a minute. Then she said, softer, "Thanks for coming anyway." He bumped her shoulder with his. "Anytime, kid." Part 6. Word travels fast on the outlaw grapevine. By sunrise the next day, every charter from Reno to Tucson knew what happened at the Silver Spur. Some laughed about the fake club that lost their colors to a 5'4" woman. Some just nodded and filed it away under reasons not to fuck with Callahan. Travis, Cody, and Mikey limped into a Barstow ER with a story about being jumped by 20 rival bikers. The doctor who stitched Travis's split lip didn't believe a word, but he'd seen enough desert justice not to ask questions. 3 days later, Roxy was back in Vegas, leaning over the pool table at the clubhouse on Industrial Road, lining up the 8-ball in the corner. The jukebox played old Motorhead. The room was thick with smoke, and brothers arguing about carburetors. She sank the 8, straightened up, and found Reaper watching her from the bar. "Got a favor," he said. She chalked her cue. "You always say that right before I end up in Mexico with a bag of guns." He grinned. "Nothing that fun. Some prospect from the Mesa chapter wants to transfer up here. Says he knows you." She raised an eyebrow. "Name?" "Kid calls himself Saint." Roxy felt something shift in her chest. She set the cue down slow. "Send him in." Saint walked through the door 10 minutes later like he was trying not to look nervous and failing. 23, lean, ink still bright on his arms. He'd prospected in Arizona when she was running guns across the border for fun. They'd shared a couple nights in a safe house outside Nogales, nothing serious, just 2 people keeping each other warm, while cartel gunfire popped in the distance. He stopped in front of her, hands at his sides. "Hey, Roxy." Reaper watched from the bar, amused. She looked Saint over. New prospect rocker, nervous eyes, same crooked smile she remembered. "You transferred for me?" "Partly," he admitted. "Heard what happened at the diner. Wanted to be closer if, you know." She laughed, not unkindly. "I don't need a bodyguard, prospect." "Didn't say bodyguard," he said. "Said closer." Reaper cleared his throat. "Church in 20. Prospect you can wait outside." Saint nodded and stepped back, but his eyes stayed on Roxy. When he was gone, Reaper leaned in. "You break him, you buy him." She smirked. "I don't break toys. I just play rough." Part 7. The next month passed quiet, too quiet. Roxy rode search and rescue runs into the desert for overdue tourists, worked days at the club's custom shop welding tanks, spent nights drinking with brothers who'd known her since she was stealing their beers at 12. Saint hung around like a friendly stray, running errands, cleaning bikes, never pushing. She let him tag along on a poker run to Laughlin, let him buy her a beer, let him sit beside her at the campfire when the Arizona charters showed up. Nothing more. Then the Iron Reapers, real ones this time, a nasty 1% club out of New Mexico, started making noise. Turns out Travis had a cousin who wore real colors, and family grudges travel at the speed of spite. First it was just talk on the dark web forums. Somebody posting photos of burnt coutets, calling the Nevada charter soft for letting a woman handle their business. Reaper ignored it. Roxy didn't. One night she rode out alone to a dive bar in Pahrump, where the New Mexico boys were known to drink. She walked in wearing her own colors, ordered a whiskey, and waited. 3 of them took the bait. They cornered her in the parking lot, big men with real patches and real bad intentions. She smiled the same winter smile. "You related to a guy named Travis?" The biggest one spat on the ground. "He's blood. You humiliated him." "Yeah," she said. "I did. The fight was short and ugly." She broke one nose, cracked another's knee with a tire iron she pulled from her saddlebag, left the third crying next to his bike with a busted jaw. Then she took a Sharpie from her pocket and wrote across the gas tank of the least damaged Harley, property of Roxy Callahan. She sent Reaper a picture with the caption, "Told you I don't need backup." He replied 30 seconds later, "Get your ass home before I send the whole damn club." Part 8. War almost started that night. The New Mexico president called Reaper direct, screaming about respect and retribution. Reaper listened for 5 minutes, then said, "Your boy's cousin put hands on my sister. She handled it. You want to escalate? We'll escalate. Your call." The New Mexico president made the smart choice and hung up, but the damage rippled. Feds started sniffing around both clubs, looking for an excuse. Other charters took sides. For 2 weeks, the Nevada clubhouse was on lockdown. Women and kids inside, brothers riding 2 up with rifles across their laps. Roxy hated every minute. One night she found Saint on the roof keeping watch, AR across his knees, staring at the stars like they owed him answers. She climbed up beside him, handed him a warm beer. "You ever think this life's too much?" she asked. He took the beer. "Every day. But you stay, so do you." She leaned back against the parapet. "Sometimes I wonder what I'd be if Dax hadn't raised me in the club. College maybe, some cubicle job, nice apartment with plants I'd forget to water." Saint laughed quietly. "You'd be miserable." "Yeah," she said. "I would." They sat in silence a long time. Then he said, "I'm not asking you to need me, Roxy. Just let me stand next to you sometimes." She looked at him, really looked. The prospect rocker, the earnest eyes, the way he never flinched when bullets flew. She leaned over and kissed him, quick and hard. "We'll see, prospect." Part 9. Summer burned into fall. The Fed heat died down. The New Mexico club sent a fruit basket and a quiet apology through back channels. Travis disappeared. Some said Barstow, some said Mexico, some said the desert had him now. Nobody looked too hard. Saint earned his full patch on a run to Sturgis that turned bloody when some Aryan circle tried to tax them at a gas station. He took a round in the shoulder and kept shooting until the threat was gone. Reaper sponsored him. Roxy stood second. The night he got his top rocker, the clubhouse roared like a jet engine. Brothers pounded him on the back hard enough to bruise. Someone poured whiskey straight into his wound for disinfection. He took it like he was born to it. Later, out back by the burn barrels, Roxy handed him a beer with her left hand and traced the new Hell's Angels ink on his chest with her right. "Proud of you, Saint." He caught her wrist, gentle. "Still just standing next to you." She smiled. Real this time, no winter in it. For now, Reaper watched from the doorway, arms folded, and decided some things were better left alone. Part 10, years later, old-timers at the Silver Spur Diner still told the story. The night 3 idiots ripped a girl's shirt and woke up a legend. They say if you ride past there on a quiet night, you can still smell burnt leather on the wind and hear the echo of Harley pipes rolling out like thunder. And sometimes, late, a woman rides in alone, small, dark-haired, silver skull glinting at her throat. She sits in the same booth, orders coffee black, and smiles at anyone stupid enough to stare too long. Her jacket carries the death's head now, full colors, earned the hard way, and stitched on the front, right over her heart, is a small patch no one else in the club has, a torn black tank top outlined in red thread. Underneath, in tiny letters, they should have known better. The waitress, Darla retired, her granddaughter works nights now, always brings the coffee without being asked. Because some debts get paid. Some legends just keep riding, and nobody touches Reaper's sister.